Tolerance can only be achieved when you no longer tolerate the intolerant. You cannot be tolerant of the intolerant. Because this is what happens, is you get somebody like this who's like, I'm all about tolerance. That means even those people who are hateful. And then it seeps in. They're tolerant of everyone, even people with hate.
So Tony, having Rocco grow up out here, feel like it's the right decision? What are your thoughts on it? There's got to be pros and cons, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we live with the earth, not just on it. You know, wow. and that's the kind of mentality I want him to be his default. Some people prefer to live in the city where they're closer by, and globalism can supply all their needs.
Globalism, brother.
All their
this guy's in InfoWars. You know he's on InfoWars, brother. He goes into town, goes to a Starbucks, opens up Infowars.com, sees the fucking judge with laser beams out of her. These fucking globalist elites, brother.
But here it's, you know, you're living with the earth, the season, what grows out of the ground, and I think that he's just going to have that respect, that fundamental respect for like where he lives and where stuff comes from and the effort it takes to.
It's all Nancy Pelosi's faults. We're disconnected.
What you need.
This used to be super sparse, and a lot of like younger people, not younger, my age, you know, are moving in here and trying to like homestead. And
why do you think there's that big push right now?
I mean, I think that it may just be part of like the way humans are broken up into like different.
Is that a druid?
Personality types. I think there's always going to be people that want to like get out of the matrix and like live free. But I also think right now it feels more pressing, you know?
Right.
Just like all the hostility in the cities and the kind of like need for this like homogenized way of thinking. Out here, people aren't too black and white. Everybody's not the same. You don't have to be, because there's space, you know?
Okay.
Like I can live next to somebody who disagrees with me and I don't feel like oppressed by that.
There's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
YouTube folks acting like they landed on the moon for the first time when living like the rest of the world. I know, it's so fun. I mean, even these people, right? Even the people he's interviewing, it's like, does he not realize like a ton of the world lives like this? Like the majority of the world is what we would call, you know, in poverty. Like the vast majority of the world live off the land and like huts, like don't have fucking running water.
I mean, people really believe in freedom here.
I dig that.
Yeah,
freedom.
I dig that.
Because that got
brother.
Out of whack.
It's been crazy, you know.
And it's like all these labels and like, oh, you believe
boxes
this, so it's
like,
so ridiculous.
If you think this, then you must think that.
Yeah,
and,
YouTube
like,
equals
this,
white.
then you're my enemy, and like.
It feels like society went into 7th grade collectively.
Yeah, totally.
And there's the in
what
and out
lunch
groups.
table are you sitting at? You know, except there's only 2.
Right, you got to simplify it that much.
Yeah.
Oh, what is
simple,
it?
Simple.
Hey, what are those tables? Please just say it. Come on, just say it. What are those tables?
No gray zone.
I can't stand that. I feel like being intelligent is being able to think critically and like all the gray area, all the nuance of things, and like it's so people are just they're so simple-minded. The way that things have to be like categorized in a simple way, and to a degree, that's kind of like human nature. Like you gotta like know somebody like not like animal nature.
If they're a threat or if they're coming with good intention, maybe.
My view on used to be like you, and I hate these people's ignorance. Now I just think as long as it doesn't matter to me, I don't give a shit. You should, because these people spread like terrible things, right? This is okay, listen, it may seem like they're remote, but there is a whole, like, people around them, like, they make other people suffer, right? Because people see this and they're like, oh, look, these people got it figured out. They're for themselves. They're individualistic. They free thinkers, brother. But in reality, like, we don't live in a society where this is not what people are like or where they should be. You will always have to interact. You will always have society, right?
Over the hill in our DNA, it's like the different thing coming over the hill was a threat to our existence. But we're modern people to some degree. We don't have to worry about it like that anymore. Right,
and I feel like it plays on our base, you know, this base animalistic, you know, like lizard brain, you know, where you're just like, friend or foe, I need to know right now, you know, like.
Right. You, Tony, were a heavy metal guitarist, right?
The
singer,
vocalist. Yeah.
Vocalist.
He plays everything though. I come from, you know,
train hopping punks.
Yeah.
The old ones.
I mean,
okay, what's happened to punk? It sort of died off, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like all the same people that, you know, I grew up with that were like,
punk is dead.
Know, the system, the man, you know, like never trust authority, you know, are the same people that they're just like fall in line or you're a threat or you're the enemy. And
No, brother. No, sister. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Oh, no. Yeah, apparently pro-vaccine equals fall in line.
and it's totally bizarre.
Yeah.
And the metal scene was weird too because like it's based on being obscene and vulgarity and all
Yeah, they
these,
either went
like,
anti-fash or anti-vax. Yeah.
forms of bad things, but now they're like super sensitive.
You just killed everything for me. Metal got sensitive.
Well, yeah, it's the same way punk kind of like died off with the political mentality. It's like even in a scene where
It's literally not true, though. The punk people who went like conservative just became rock. They moved away from punk. They just started doing generic rock shit. And the other punk is still making punk rock that is fucking punch Nazi shit. Like, it's not dead. Punk is not dead.
the album covers have dead people on it and they talk about all this crazy stuff, and
Also,
they're not
punk was always founded on being political.
good at taking criticism or accepting new ideas, and they get
Yeah, these are the type of motherfuckers to be like Rage Against the Machine. I liked them before they were political.
they're very like sensitive is the best word.
So that honestly, you guys just couldn't hack that, and you're just like, get me as far away from that as possible.
I mean, it just felt like the more that I tried to preach like respect and tolerance, you know, like the more that like people that I initially had seen myself as like my side, you know, like attacked.
By the way, this is why. Okay, I just got to point out, this lady is such a good example. She's such a good example of why tolerance means you do not tolerate the intolerant. Okay, tolerance can only be achieved when you no longer tolerate the intolerant. Right? You cannot be tolerant of the intolerant, because this is what happens. Right? As you get somebody like this who's like, I'm all about tolerance. That means even those people who are hateful, and then it seeps in. Right?
It's like you can't
It just seeps in. They're tolerant of everyone, even people with hate.
be moderate. You need to like anybody that doesn't agree with you. And then coming out here, I tattoo people that are like that have a completely different diametric ideology than I do. I don't even know what my ideology is at this point. I just like don't subscribe to the system. Getting to actually talk to these people that like
It's just an
that
anarchist.
the left think are like the enemy and really like get in their heads. Like they don't even like see the same news that you do. They don't even know what the fuck you're talking about when you're like Trump's racist or he's like homophobic. They're like absolutely not. There's no truth in that, you know. And they're not idiots. They're just like getting a different set of information.
She's an enlightened centrist, okay? She understands that, but once again, complacency. She's an enlightened centrist, and she's being like, well, they're wrong with that. Like, he is, you know, he is racist and all that, but like, I don't hate him for it. It's like, why? They're living a life of ignorance. Why can't you call them on their bullshit? She's recognizing the problem and failing to take action against it, right? It's like seeing a train coming towards you and you having a button with the brakes and not hitting the brakes, right? Imagine you could switch the track and it's like not switching the track, right? You're like, I could solve this problem. I'm just not going to. I see the problem. I know it's a problem, but you know, I'm just not going to switch the tracks.
Most of the people in Philly are, and it just like kind of solidified.
I'm getting the feeling she doesn't like Trump, but also doesn't like scary vaccines and doctor stuff. This is what happens when someone, okay, I feel like theory could help this person. I agree. Okay. Listen, I already said this. If you're anti-vax because it's your ideology or your belief or whatever, I don't care as long as you're not promoting it as science. Does that make sense? As long as you're not lying to people and like false advertising to them. Okay. Also, like a person like this, like just needs theory to understand that like you can be anti-state. I'm fine with that. Like, bro, I'm anti the way that the state exists, right? I'm anti that. But I'm not anti-state if the state is by the workers, and like that's what we push for, right? We push for a state that benefits the most people that it can. What is the whole like premise of Marxist ideology, right? That there's a logical conclusion and that there is a something else besides capitalism or feudalism, right? Because those are very intertwined. The whole point of Marxist theory is that there is another option. There is something else, right? And Marx even points out that it's very hard to see that there's something else when you live in a system and it's all you've ever known, right? That is why you don't need to understand capitalism to be against it, because you live within it. That's what it is. This person is just hard to see that there's an alternative. They hate everything to do with government, not realizing the goal should be to change government, not abolish it, right? Government is it. I mean, it should be the end goal can be abolished, but like until then, you have to change it into favor of the people, right? The government should be run by the people for the people, right? But it's not. It's not.
Everything that I already knew was true, which is that like this is all bullshit. Yeah, historically, America tried to come in here and enforce a bunch of rules on the locals and the natives, trying to tell them how to live out here, and they wouldn't have it at all. I mean, they just burned down ranger station after ranger station after ranger station, and eventually the president had to, send somebody new in who could really make peace with the locals and be like, look, we're going to work with you, because they couldn't be like, there's no iron fist for this group,
You're talking about the indigenous or
not just the indigenous, like also the early Americans that had come to settle here, because they started trying to tell them like, you can't dam up this river, or you can't like fish this way, or you can't. And there are a lot of rules, but they really, you have to get these people on board. They're not gonna let their way of life be threatened. People really give a shit about their way of life out here.
And they suffer for it because the winter's not easy.
Yeah, there's a very specific breed of person that came out here.
It makes Montana look like light version.
Yeah. Because at least you can drive to get like healthcare where they're not gonna like
chop your leg off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous. There's going to be dormers.
He's never going to finish that house.